Hey, what's going on, everybody? It looks like the market's taking a little bit of a breather today. You can see it's mostly down, right? Bitcoin's down about 1.5%, right? Look at XRP. It's up 7% today. It's up above 62 cents. This is a good thing, right? And even if you don't hold XRP, it's still a good thing because we want a coin in the top 10 or even top 20 to really show some strength, right? Because that gives confidence for the rest of the market. So if we can start seeing random coins pop off, that's how you know it's going to look a lot better for the rest of the market. But essentially, yeah, we're up at 7% here. So let's go ahead and take a look at XRP. And we've been looking at it a lot. And basically, ever since we were down here, we've been talking about something like this, right? Maybe not as big as this. I didn't think it would be this big, right? So I'm actually pleasantly surprised here. I was just thinking we're either going to build a base in here, right? Or we're going to get a 5-wave up diagonal, right? Because if you look at, for example, something like Neo, right? It kind of had that diagonal shape to it, right? Or, for example, let's see what else we have here. ADA actually took the top. That's pretty good. Where's Theta at? Right? Same thing with Theta here. Its look was like a diagonal, but it hasn't taken this top yet. So CRV, right? We actually came right back to the top here. And we've been here for quite some time. So it's looking a little bit like it needs to come down. So I was thinking for CRV, this could be either a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then we have a 3-wave there. We have a 3-wave here. And now it looks like we're either going to get 3 or 5. So this is a flat. This is an ABC flat here, guys. So we'll see how this progresses, but I'm looking at this to come on down. Maybe let's pull the retracement here. Let's see if we get a 50%, or at least a 618. Yeah, look at that. Perfect. So somewhere in the golden zone, right in here, right? That's kind of where I want to see it pull back to. So, that's what we got here. And we can see, right, we made a double bottom and we basically took out this liquidity here. So everybody had their stop loss. Basically that got triggered. So all that liquidity came in, orders got filled, and we had a big impulse that even took out these stops in here, right? So now it's kind of looking like a 3-wave shape. So we have a wave 1, A, B, C. So back when it was breaking here, I said that looks a little bit corrective. Let's see about that, right? Because you could also, right, this brings me to my next idea, and we're going to get to XRP in just a moment, and we're going to look at Theta and Bitcoin. So stay tuned. We have a 1, 2, all of that's 3, right? This is 4, and then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't like the shape too much, but it is what it is, right? So then we have this A, B, and C. So it probably might get a little more complex like this, right? So we have a wave 1, and then an A, B, C, and then let's go, right? So either way, I think we should see some kind of price action like this, right? So those are the two ideas. They're basically the same, right? Another idea is for it to essentially stay, which would be very bullish, basically in this range, and sort of just oscillate in here, right? catch its breath a little bit. You can kind of see it doesn't look so good, but you can kind of see a little bit of a inverse head and shoulders here, right? You draw the trend line. You got a little bit of a fake out here, so maybe this needs to be a little bit bigger before it's ready to go. So yeah, I think CRV is definitely one to keep your eye on. And with that, I'm actually going to go to Casper. So let's look at Casper here. Casper's in a similar situation, but before I do that, I just want to show you here on CRV, you know, we're at all-time lows here, right? I mean, this thing at one time was what, 60 bucks? But I don't really count that because, you know, it's a wick. There's no real volume there, I would say. But I will say a more you know, conservative all-time high would be between $4 and $7. So we'll just say about $6. So that's the target, right? Is $6. And from where we are now, that's a pretty big move up to $6, right? I mean, if we're looking at $6 here, I mean, that is a 20x. I mean, you know, 20x's are hard to come by these days, unless you know what you're really doing here. There's no way Bitcoin will ever get a 20x ever again. There's no way Ethereum will ever get a 20x. Maybe. I think its whole lifetime, maybe. XRP for sure will get a 20x. THETA most certainly will get a 20x over the course, you know, of a while. It might take some time. But as far as a quick move back to the all-time high, I mean, that's pretty substantial. A 20x just to get back to the all-time high, not even going into expansion. Now imagine getting back up here where this wick is. Now you just turned your 2,000% upwards of, you know, say 15 or 20,000%, right? Now you're looking at like, you know, 100 or 200x. I mean, now we're talking big, serious, we're talking serious money there. Right? And the reason I like it is because, number one, we have a three-wave shape to the downside. So if you kind of pretend that there's a bull cycle here, right? Just go like that, and we'll just bring this to 0, right? So it went all the way up in the pre-sale. I don't know how that looked, but essentially what we have is an A, B, C. And we basically took out this liquidity here. And inside this, we also have a three-wave shape right here. Boom, boom, boom. Right? So it's looking pretty solid here for a bounce. Now, is the bottom completely in? It's still a tough thing to say. I mean, you can say, you know, this is the 5-day chart. So if I go, let's say, to the 2-day chart, I mean, we got a 5-wave move, right? So we got 1, 2, you could say 3, 4, and 5. And then you even kind of swept the low here for even a 7. So, you know, at the very least, I'm looking at this to come up here, right? Back to about 51 cents. And from where it is now to 51 cents, it's about an 80% move there. So not too bad. Not too bad at all. But yeah, I am expecting higher prices than that eventually. So if I just put a retracement here from the bottom to here, I want to target the 1618. So that's around $1.26 or so, roughly in that area. So if I put a line right about there, and then I can get rid of that, and then I just have a little measurement here. By the way, I got in at 23.5, somewhere in there, or 24. So for me, I'm looking at about 430%. But if I'm going to buy this coin, I'm going to wait for a three-way pullback. So if I can get in, and that's why you want to hit subscribe, because I'm definitely going to be following up with this when we get down here, right? Again, this is not financial advice. I could be totally wrong, but I put my money where my mouth is. So, you know, this is my job, right? This is what I do, and I have to make it work, right? I have a family. I have a 2.5-year-old, right? I got expenses. I have to make this work. And so, you know, I've dedicated my life to trying to figure out how to read a chart. And it's not easy. It definitely is hard. But time goes by, experience progresses, and over time it gets easier. And the best thing we can do is just develop a strategy, right? I've been burned so many times. I'm sure you have as well. On crypto, right? But if you're a hodler, it doesn't matter, right? You're hodling. 90% of what I do is hodl, 10% is trade, right? So that 10% is basically what I'm surviving off of. So if I were to buy this coin, I would wait for a 3-wave move back down to about 25 cents or so, and then we can start talking about a bigger move to the upside. Now, it's not going to be a straight line like that. I know that. But basically, the target is $1.30. So if I just put that right there up to $1.30, that's about 390%, right? So if you had a 5x leverage on that position, right, you could just multiply, there you go. So that right there in itself is a 20x, so about 1900% there. So, you know, that's not a bad trade there, a 20x move, right? Now, I don't do 100x, I don't do 50x. I try to keep it, you know, between 5 and upwards of 20x. You know, it's really dangerous when you start getting that high, especially when you try to swing for the fence. It really never, you know, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But you can seriously become mega rich if you nail the bottom with a pretty big leveraged position and just let it ride. But it's very hard to do that, you know, because being liquidated is the last thing we want. But that's why I try to look for coins that have low risk, right? I mean, look at the risk here. We're pretty low. We have a 3-wave shape, right? So, but yeah, let's move on to Casper. But real quick, right? If I just put this, just for fun, from the top here all the way to the bottom, just to get back to the 618, right? Not even an expansion, but just from where we are now up to that 618, I mean, you're looking at over 13x right there. So obviously, you know, if this is the beginning of this cycle, we still haven't had a proper cycle with this coin yet, and usually that first cycle is always going to be the biggest. So I would always target the 4.236, right, for that first wave. I mean, that's 10,000%, and not even talking about, right, going to log scale. So I mean, just look at Matic real quick, right? Something similar happened to Matic, right? If you just, it started here, it came down, it had a 3-wave shape, it took out that liquidity, and then what did it do? What did it do? This is when Matic first came out, right? So if you just draw a line here, that was your bull cycle, and then we dropped. We had a 3-wave shape, and then this was also a 3-wave shape that took out this low here. So it came up, it went sideways, and then it popped right back up here, had this flat, this expanded flat, and then we had a 1-2, and then we were off to the races, and look how high that thing went, guys. That thing is a monster, right? So if I put the retracement on this from here down to here, you can see it's not even on the Richter scale, right? So that's why a lot of times these first waves, you actually got to go to log scale and look at it. So log scale, we actually hit, we'll be conservative and we'll say the 2618 to the 3. Okay? Even the 2. So we'll just say between the 2 and the 3. We'll just be fair, right? Conservative. 2 to 3. Okay, so I go back to CRV, right? And it's kind of in that same thing. Now just pretend, right, that this is the bull cycle here, right? We don't know what the pre-sale was. But then look, you got this sort of 3-wave shape, right? And then in that 3-wave shape, you have another 3-wave shape. So if I take that and then I take this and I put it up to log scale, now things are really changing here, right? So I'm not saying it's going to get this high, but man, that's a little bit too high, right? So between the 2 and the 3 is between $200 and $6,000, right? So it actually hits, what was it, the 3.72. So that's $16,000. That's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen, right? I don't know what. I mean, the all-time high here on that opening price was about $56. So it's actually quite expensive here. So to get to that, we'll just put it right here at the 2. So $209. That would be sort of my throw in the towel. Okay, I can't take it anymore. I'm out, right? So from there, that would be roughly, wow, 75,000%. So that's some serious percentages there. That's about 750x, right? That's almost 1,000x. That's insane. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but we have to look at the tokenomics. We have to look at the inflation. We have to look at how many coins there is. We have to look at a lot of different things. But what I'm saying is, you know, all these coins, Solana, Matic, you all wanted to be there at the very beginning of their cycle, right? So that's why I'm taking a stab here with CRV. Maybe it works out. Maybe it's a total failure. I can't tell you one way or another. All I can do is look at the chart. And from a risk perspective, you know, I'm okay with entering here because, you know, big risk, big reward, right? So again, it's about finding these altcoins that have relatively low market caps, right? That are definitely on a lot of exchanges, and right, less than $500 million. So, you know, so then when they go into their first phase, when they go into their first expansion phase, that's usually going to be the biggest one, right? I mean, look at Chainlink. I mean, it went from it went insane, right? So, like for example, Filecoin, right? What did guys? This is exactly what Filecoin did. Look what it did here, guys. It came up, right, and we draw our imaginary line right there, and then it came all the way down, and it had this 3-wave shape. Now it actually had a double bottom, so it was a little shaped differently, but it basically Matic came down here, so did CRV. But let's look at sort of where it went. So if I put a retracement here, and to be honest, I didn't even put it on the right retracement because I didn't do it from that wick. But there's actual price movement here, not just a wick. Where did we go? We hit the 1618. Okay, that's a pretty big move. $141. Let's go back to CRV real quick. Where are you at? That's not the chart that I want. There's the chart. Okay. So if I put the retracement up here, roughly, and we hit that 1618, I mean, you're looking at $1,600. I just, like, my brain doesn't work like that. I'm just like, nah, that's impossible. There's just no way it's going to happen, right?
3.03 billion. According to Bybit, according to Curve Finance, CRV has a maximum supply of 3.03 billion.
Okay, so that's not a lot at all, right? Filecoin max coin supply. That's 2 billion. Okay. Oh, about, yeah, 2 billion. So, you know, it's about the same. So it was 2 billion. So, you know, this coin, you know, it went up to approximately $233. Okay. So it's actually, if this coin has 2 billion max supply, see, I don't know what the circulating supply was at that time, and I'm not going to do all that on this video, but essentially, right, if this 2 billion max supply hit $235, then surely the, you know, CRV can hit at least $50, right? Or $60. Right, so let's go back real quick. Yeah, I can totally see it getting back to between $50 and $60. I think that would be, so somewhere, basically somewhere back at this wick up here. I think that's definitely possible. So that sort of price movement, it might take a year, it might take 2 years, it might take 3 years, but what is my money going to do, right? Sit in the bank and do nothing? At least it's doing something, right? So expect a lot of volatility in here, but I think over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, we could see a $30 CRV, as crazy as that sounds. Right, but it, again, you know, like Filecoin and Matic, when they first came out, they sort of were kind of boring. They didn't do anything. They had big sell-offs, right? Like Dogecoin. But if you stuck with it, right, that first cycle ended up being extraordinary, right? For example, like same thing that kind of happened to XLM here, right? It always starts off with a wick, and then it comes all the way down. It sort of builds a base and then it explodes, right? Let's look at Litecoin here for a second. You know, basically you had this big wick here, right? And if I expand that a little bit, you can see, right? You had this sort of three-wave shape, and it sort of took out the low here, and then it went crazy, right? So all I'm saying is, you know, CRV has a potential to do something extraordinary, you know, in my opinion. Now, like, for example, Algorand, look how massive a sell-off it had, right? And it still didn't reach back to the all-time of where it opened, right? And, you know, you had this sort of three-wave shape here, but then you had 5 back up. You can see very similar right here. Let me show you. This area right in here, I'm comparing that to this area right in here. So this area right there, right? So let me go back to Algo again. And yeah, so, and then you could see it came down and it took out this liquidity, and then that was the bottom, and then we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where did we go? We went right just shy of where we were here. So if we translate that to CRV, I always, when I see CRV, I always think of the Honda, right? You know, the Honda SUV. I see CRV. Is this like a Honda? You know, and look at that. That's exactly where I had it, right there. So back to that all-time high there. So if provided this is a low, maybe we have another low to go. I mean, that's the dangerous part, you know, but, you know, looking at a lot of coins that came out right here, right? They had their pre-sale, whatever, then they dropped, and then they kind of just fall down, and then they kind of sort of have this support here, and then they break through it, and then it looks like it's going to die, and then it kind of shoots up, it flags out, and then it kind of just rolls on up, right? So, I mean, that could be 2027 from now. You know, you just don't really know, but I think eventually this thing is going to perform, right? And that's where the fundamentals come in, and that's where a lot of other things come into play as well. So what about SHIB when it first came out? Let's take a look. Look at SHIB. Look at this. Similar, very, very similar, right? And actually, CRV is actually a bigger structure, you know, so I have to tone it down and actually go to the daily. But look at this. Very, very similar, right? You had, because that's what we all want, right? We all want to be mega, mega, mega rich. Well, how do you get mega, mega rich? You got to have a mega, mega return. Well, how do you get that? Well, you got to pick the right coin. Well, how do you do that? You got to look at the charts, right? So I always go back to like SHIB and Chainlink and Matic and Algo and XLM. There's a lot of coins. THETA, right? What did it do? Right? Go back to the very beginning of what Bitcoin did, what Ethereum did. When it very first came out, right? A lot of these altcoins like Cardano. What did Cardano do when it first came out, right? And look at the behavior. And then we're going to translate that behavior to a coin that we see today. And I haven't really done a lot of digging into a lot of different coins, especially new coins, especially ones that are at all-time lows. But essentially, SHIB was at a brand new all-time low, right? So everyone thought it's a crappy meme coin, right? It came out here at the top of the bull cycle or around May here, right? And then it just dumped all the way down. But something very similar happened, right? So again, I'll draw my imaginary line here, right? And then we drop down and we sort of build a base in here, right? And then you kind of come up and then you take that base and you grab that liquidity. So you draw a line here and you grab that liquidity, and what happened? We quickly came back, we flagged out, and then we were off to the races in a big, big way, right? So where did SHIB go according to, if I pulled this here, it went to the 1.272. So if I translate that to CRV, right, and you can kind of start to see similarities of how when coins first come out, how do they act, how do they behave, right? Like if you look at Solana, it's already been on a massive bull cycle. Why would I want to buy that? Why would I don't want to buy things everybody's all hyped up about. I want to buy things that nobody cares about, right? Because that's where, like when Solana was and just came out, it was very, very, very cheap. Not too many people were talking about it, right? But it ended up being life-changing wealth for some people. And I still haven't had that for myself and my family. And I'm sure most people out there haven't as well, unless you're some millionaire that got lucky with a coin, right? And I don't like to say luck because it's never real. Luck has something to do with it. But a lot of it is you, the individual, being smart enough to discern what is a good investment and what isn't, right? But yeah, actually, I got it here side by side, and I'm just gonna kind of go back to the beginning here. There we go, and you can kind of see what we got here, right? So essentially, right, you got the big drop, right? You kind of got a little bit of a retracement, you got a little bit of a retracement. And you know, it's actually kind of similar to what Algo did. It actually had a cycle. It actually went up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It actually went up 5 waves, and it started here from the bottom. So we already know it can pump pretty good, right? Because it actually had a pump from down here to the 30-cent area all the way up to about $6, right? And then it came down, right? It went into this box here, similar to this box, right? And basically you could see it grab that liquidity. So I'm wondering, is this a liquidity grab, right? We come up and then we start to shoot to the upside, right? This is a brand new coin. I mean, it's been out for a while, to be fair, but it hasn't, it sort of is taking time to sort of gear up, right? And, you know, it could be a total failure. We just don't know. But I do like the shape of it here. So let's see. Did Fetch have anything like that? You know, it actually, let me go to the higher time frame here. you can kind of see, look at that, something very similar. We had a big drop, right? And then we had this little box here, right there, right? Similar to what's going on right here, right? And yeah, so fetch came up and it actually took the top out already, right? So that's what I want to see with CRV. I want to see a big pump. You know, it might take some time because it definitely, this is the 4-day chart and this is the daily chart with fetch. So, you know, you can see a 1, 2, and then we get a big third, a fourth, and then a fifth. I mean, it seems a little crazy, but hey, I'm all about crazy. Let's see what she's got here. Is there any other coin? Let's take a look at Dogecoin for a minute. Basically, what we're doing is we're just looking at what happened to coins, right? So this is not just for CRV. This is for a lot of coins. Maybe then you can go and look at, you know, a lot of different altcoins. Comment below, is there any altcoins out there that are relatively new that have not yet had a real bull cycle that could potentially have a lot of, you know, price potential, right? You know, the chart speaks a lot of things, right? So look at Dogecoin. It went down, right? It came down, had a retracement, and it came back, had a box here, right? And then it kind of leveled up and went. So retracement, kind of had a box here. I don't really see a liquidity grab, but essentially it came up, back tested, continued higher. So AIOZ network. I mean, there's a lot of people would look at this saying, oh, it's a crap coin, you know, it's at 30 cents and it's going down, 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 and it's at 1 penny. I don't want nothing to do with it, right? But now look at it. It's sitting here. It got all the way up to $1. So that was a good 100x move there. So would I buy it now? No, I wouldn't buy it. I got 5 waves and we're at all-time highs. Why would I want it? So look at XRP versus Bitcoin has actually got a nice breakout. You know, we were talking about this as well here. So yeah, we'll jump into XRP versus Bitcoin and XRP. But just real quick, look at ADA. Something similar here, right? It had this pump up here. We came down in 3, right? Or actually 5. We developed a base here, right? And then we had this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the same kind of thing, right? What CRV did. And then we had this 3-wave drop that took out the liquidity, and there's your drop right there. So look what it did after that. It went on a rampage. And where did it go? Let's put the retracement up. It hit just above. Let's take this off log here. It went just above the 2.272 on linear scale. So if I were to translate that onto CRV, that would be approximately, right? Approximately. I said the 1 point or the 2.272. No, it was, yeah, 2.272 at $128. Wow, that is a big move there if it can succeed on that. And you know, so once again, ADA here was at the 2.272 and it reached all the way to $3. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying, you know, look at Matic, look at XLM, look at a lot of the coins that first came out. How did they behave? And then what we do is we take that and we try to translate that to new coins. That way, you know, because ADA is never going to have the cycle it did, right? This is the biggest move that ADA will ever do. It's just not going to happen, right? Because the percentages get smaller and smaller. This thing went from all the way up to, you know, 16,000%, right? So if I go 16,000% again from where we are now, it's just not going to happen. I mean, you're looking at, right, you know, $70 for ADA. I mean, that's just insane, you know, especially because how many coins? I think, I'm not sure the supply, 100 billion or so. I don't remember. Yeah, it's going to be very hard. So that very, very first bull cycle is very important. And that's what we want, right? So here's another one, Casper. This is another one I'm very interested in. Now, for me, I got in a little bit too early here, but that's okay. I'm still going to hold my position. But look at Casper. It's at 2 cents. This thing went all the way up to $76. So just to get back to the all-time high, or just to get back to the top of this range here, is about a 10x, right? Just to get back to there. Now, if we get back to this, I mean, that now we're talking like 30,000%, right? So that's a pretty big deal. And then higher than that, I mean, you're looking at, wow, that's insane. 350,000%. That is a monster move there. That's like, what is that? I know it's not, I know it's way more than 1,000, a 3,000, a 3,500x, I think. Or I'd have to do the math on that right there. But I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying, wow, that's just to get back to the retracements here. So this coin could be a contender, right? We saw how THETA reacted, you know, back in the day. It came down here, right? It developed a base. And then what did it do? It took the low. It took the low here. So right there, right? The liquidity grab. So this needs to be the low. And we want to start to see an impulse, just like how THETA did, just like how a lot of coins did. So we'll see if we can get that. But I think Casper and CRV have a lot of percentage. It's a big risk. Just keep that in mind. But that's just my opinion. We'll see how they play out. So real quick here I'll just go to the 2-week chart. And I'm going to take it from the close all the way down to approximately where we are now. And just to get to a 1618, that's $12. So we know Dogecoin or ADA hit 2.272. That's $17, right? That's a huge move from 2 cents all the way to $17. I mean, that I just can't even. I mean, just to get back to the close here is 30,000%. Just to get back to the 236, the lowest fib level is about 8,000 to 9,000%. Now, you can say, well, it's dead. It's never, ever going to do that ever again. I mean, maybe, right? But you got to look at, like for Casper, I like watching Kevin Cage on YouTube. He's got really good fundamental analysis. I know they partnered with IBM, right? They're doing things with AI, right? Remember, Casper opened up right at the top of the bear market, or the beginning of the bear market. So it had a big sell-off. So it's never ever experienced a real bull market. And you can say, well, what about now? We're not in a bull market until Bitcoin goes into that expansion, until the altcoins break above their 786 Fibonacci. We're not in a bull market, right? So we don't know how this thing reacts, right? We saw what happened to ADA, right? We saw, you could say, well, yeah, but that was ADA. And you could say, well, Dogecoin. I mean, there's a lot of different coins out there. Let's see what Ethereum did when it first came out. I don't think I have it here. But, you know, it's essentially the same kind of story. It comes down. It makes a low here, and then it sort of trends sideways. Let's go to the 2-day chart there. You can kind of see a 3-wave shape, right? You can see a little tiny thing here. We broke below it, but we quickly shot back up. I don't think it's going to be that crazy. You know, if we can at least get a 10x, I'll be happy. So this thing has a lot of potential. We'll see. Okay, let's look at XRP versus Bitcoin. Let's jump to the weekly chart here. And let's zoom out and see what we got. Wow, look at that. We bounced exactly where we were supposed to. You can see, right, trend line hit. Perfect, perfect, right? We can see there. And then look at this. We lined up right there following this downward resistance line. And basically we're at a crossroads here, right? And you know how I feel about XRP versus Bitcoin. Basically been explaining. Let me take everything off the screen so we can have a clean chart here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? I mean, it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. We don't know. But we got a lot of bullish divergence on the weekly chart. We got hidden bullish divergence on the weekly chart. I mean, you know, it's pretty dang bullish in my opinion here. So let's see it continue to rise. But basically what we have here, guys, is we have this move up, right? This move up, we had this came down, we had a retracement, we went down into reaccumulation, and basically this is all reaccumulation. So rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, waiting for that breakout, right? So let's look a little closer at the reaccumulation structure. You can see, what do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have a 5-wave move down. We have a 3-wave move up, right? And then we have a 3-wave move down here. So you can argue that we need one more to be an ABC, but you know, it's kind of a rough thing here. But essentially we have a 1, 2, 3. We have a 3-wave shape here, right? And we're basically, you know, at all-time lows here. Right, you can see the last time we hit here, we went straight to the upside. You know, basically, every time it hits this yellow zone, you can see a monster blast off. Come back down to the yellow zone, monster blast off. Come back down to the yellow zone, monster blast off. Right, and then we come all the way back down to the low. We bounce off, right, and then we have this sort of boom, 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 boom. Right? And, you know, I want to see a big breakout. You can see all this liquidity here. That's a lot of liquidity. Look at all those areas there. This is a big chunk of price action here. So there's a lot of volume in there. And just above that's a lot of liquidity. So if I was a market maker, you know, and I'm bouncing off this trend line, I would target all of that. All of this liquidity somewhere up in there. It might take a year. It might take 2 years. I don't know. But eventually, I think it's going to get up here. So we'll see about that. XRP versus Bitcoin looking really good. Let's zoom in a little bit. Actually, let's go to the sequential. I mean, you could see we had 3.9 on the weekly. I mean, that's exhausted as heck, right? Let's go to the 2-week chart. Oh, yeah. Look at that. Look at this. Our 9 buy has been activated. It's not completely at the bottom here, but I like it because what did come as a lower bottom actually was divergence. So that's okay with me. We have the red dots here. We have a green 2 going above a green 1, going above the green dots, activating the 9. It's looking really good. Let's look at the 3-week chart just for fun. We have another 9. What about the monthly chart? If we had a monthly 9, whoa, wow, that's insane. We almost made it to a monthly 9. Well, you know what? I actually like it. It's an 8. So one more candle. This actually started out as a 9. So it actually, you know, 14 days left. It started out as a 9, right? So we had an 8 doji. So for example, let me flip it upside down. You can see red, 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 red. These are monthly candles, guys. Look at all of these red candles in a row, right? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 red candles in a row. That's a 9 buy all day in my book. And what do we have? We have a bullish engulfing monthly green one, basically taking back 1, 2, 3, 4, basically 4 months, a whole quarter, right? Basically a quarter of the year it took back in one monthly candle. That is impressive. So what's the target here, guys? Well, for me, I don't know about you, but for me, I'm targeting this area right here, right? That's our first stop there. Look at the back. Look how huge that gap is there, right? So that's where I'm targeting. So from where we are now, actually from down here, I mean that's about 100. That's a 2x from down here. So it's looking pretty good. Now, as far as a retracement on the higher time frames, I'm just going to take it from this wave down to here, right? And that doesn't even get us to the 382. So what I would do is move that up to there, right? So that would be in order for XRP to truly go into a massive expansion, it needs to break above the 618 at 2081 Satoshi. So about 2081 Satoshis. Right now we're at 976 Satoshis. So, you know, it's going to be a tough time, but eventually I'm targeting this area right here. And it actually makes sense because if you drag it out, you can see there's points of confluence in there, right? So we look at alt versus BTC pairs as basically an oscillator. So what we do is we take the top of the oscillator and we take the bottom here, and basically it's not really trending, it's sort of oscillating, right? So, you know, when we're up here, I buy Bitcoin. When we're down here, I swap that Bitcoin for XRP, right? So we go up. So if we would have just did that, right? Sell all your XRP for Bitcoin, now sell all your Bitcoin for XRP. Now come up here, sell all your XRP, right, for Bitcoin, and then sell all your Bitcoin for XRP. And it's basically like a washing machine here, right? So we came down pretty significantly. I look at this as a double bottom here, right? So we have 3 up, 3 down. So that's another thing I'm going to get into in just a moment. But essentially, I want to see 5 back up, right? So once we get back up here, then I could consider swapping my Bitcoin or my XRP for Bitcoin, right? But right now, it's severely undervalued against Bitcoin. So when we zoom in here on the monthly, let's go to the smaller time frame here. Let's take off this. And now let's just look at the wave structure. This is a beautiful wave structure right here as we're taking off. But look at this. So we have right here. So we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's a 3-wave move. And then we have all of this 1, 2. Actually, this would be 1. All of that would be 2, and this is 3, right? So we have 3 up and 3 down. And then you can see, right, this was 3, this was 3, and this is 5. So if we have 3 up, 3 down, what does that mean? We're going to get, at least we're going to get 3 back up, or we're going to get 5 back up, right? Because this is a 3, 3, 5 or a 3, 3, 3. So it's either going to be a WXY or it's going to be an ABC. But you can see 3 up, 3 down, what comes next. That's a big 3-wave shape back to the downside. And now we have a massive engulfing move here. So I'm targeting way up here. I mean, that's just the deal there, right? So we'll see how that plays out. Let's go to XRP here. Let's go to the XRP market cap. So we're sitting at $35 billion market cap. So basically, let's go to the daily. This is how powerful, you know, a lot of people are sort of ignoring it, and I don't get it, because we were sitting here at $21 billion. And now we're at 36 billion. So we went up, let's see here. Let me just take this and I'll just go right there. So guys, XRP has increased $14 billion in 12 days. That is huge. That's a lot of money to move in 12 days. So basically, in less than 2 weeks, XRP exploded up $14 billion. And it wasn't really too big of a move, right? I mean, it is, but it's not like light your pants on fire kind of move. But essentially, I'm looking at XRP similar to the XRP Bitcoin chart, right? We have 3 here, and then we have 3 here. So we have 3 up, 3 down. So this looks like it's going to be a 5-wave move to the upside. So we're going to get 3, 3, and 5. That's a big move there, right? So when we zoom out on that, what we then have is 3 down, 3 up, and then we probably get another 3 down, and then go exploding to the moon, right? So something like that. So it'd be kind of a weird flat in here, right? Kind of like a cup and handle. Everybody gets bullish, but then we pull back and then we go. So I don't think that 3-way move will be too big. I think it will be something like this and then go. So so it could be a 1 2 1 2, right? And then we continue higher. But essentially we have 3 3. So I want to see 5. So if you go 3 down, you should go 3 up. If you go 3 down, you should go 5 up, right? So that's just, you know, it's not going to just keep going down, 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 down. It just doesn't make sense. So that's really what the deal here is. And then from a more simplistic ideology, right, we have 1 2 3 4 5. We have an A, we have a B, and then we have 1 2 3 4 5. So we have a 1 A B C 2. And now this is a big impulse. Now the idea here is we want to break above this resistance here. And let me go back to the XRP chart for that. So let's see. Okay. So what we really want for XRP is for it to break above this zone here. And I don't like that chart. Let's see. Let's look at this chart here. Okay, that's why the time frame is different. Okay, that's what we wanted. Okay, so there we go. So we want to break above that. And we're basically, you know, here's our range here. That's what we want to break above. So we got back to it, right? So, but this is not going to last. It kind of, the scary part here is that this is a flat. That could be a very scary thing, right? So A, B, C. If that's a flat, then we're going to dump massively. It's going to be a huge dump, right? But I'm still expecting a big dump anyway, because I want to see it come back to here, and I want to see it back test. I want to see a back test there. So if we can get a 3-wave shape, right? So we have 5 and then a 3-wave shape, then we can start to muster up the strength to break it, because it's going to be hard to break it. It's not going to break it on the first go, right? Especially since we're coming down here. We came from up here and we couldn't do it. We came from up here, we couldn't do it, right? So now we're coming from down here, it's going to be even harder, right? We're running out of gas. So we need time to elapse. We need accumulation to come in. We need some kind of a triangle, right? Or something. Inverse head and shoulders to break us out. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it, right? But I want to see a big pullback. And for that, let's go zoom in here to the 8-hour chart. So don't be surprised if the XRP price comes all the way back down to 47 cents. It could still do that. And can you imagine that? That would be the ultimate sort of, man, I quit XRP, is if, you know, we're at 62 cents, everybody's excited, finally it's doing something, right? And then all of a sudden it dumps right back below 50 cents. Everybody would flip. But I think that's going to happen, unfortunately. Why? Because this is a huge wave, right? This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I want to see a big ABC, right? At least back to, you know, you take this whole wave here, take the whole wave and just cut it in half. So somewhere in here, right? Get an ABC and then continue higher. That's what we really, really want to see, guys. 4-hour chart here. So the 4-hour chart, actually, let's go to the 1-hour or the 2-hour. So, you know, it's kind of looking like a little bit of a diagonal here for the 5th. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in the 5th wave, it looks kind of like maybe some kind of diagonal here. So let me remove that. By the way, if you can hit that like button, it would really appreciate it. I don't want to go over the hour mark, but essentially we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some kind of diagonal. So this could be A, B, and then we come down for C. Or it could be a bigger complex C like this, right? And then sort of, you know, reset itself in here and then continue higher, right? So, but then, you know, if we did that, then I would expect a bigger ABC pullback. So it's all about, you know, what's going to happen, right? What's going to happen in here. So the important thing is we're getting 5 waves. That's exactly what we want, right? So enough of XRP. As far as Bitcoin goes, I mean, you could say we had 5 waves as well. 1, 2, 1, 2, right? It kind of looks like 3. This kind of looks like a 4. And then let's get 5. So we still need a wave 4 and we still need a wave 5. So we want to see a pullback, maybe through today and tomorrow, right? Wednesdays and Thursdays are always the most volatile days, it seems. And then we get that 5th wave, right? So as far as theta goes, I'm going to spend more time on theta. I just, you know, XRP's been more entertaining, so that's why we're focusing on that. But essentially, right, theta is still very bullish. We have a diagonal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what we have here, you know, this could have been 4, 5 because we slightly took the top. I don't like how it does that. This could be a flat. A, B, C, right? And then we go. So, you know, and the ABC could be bigger, right? For example, if it's in the same degree, 1, 2, 3, and then we get 1, 2, 3, and then we get 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, the whole thing becomes 3. We get back down here at our base. That would be a good area to buy the dip and then go. Because I'd like to see a reset here. Because obviously we're getting some divergence, right? Boom. right? So if I turn on, you know, we can see a channel, right? We can see a channel in here. So eventually this channel is going to break, and we're going to get a counter trend and then continue higher.